speaker today, our trainer. This is Shelley Lee. Welcome, Shelley. She is an ESL teacher and teacher trainer. She's been doing this for 25 years. Wow. She's the author of 2 ESL literacy texts, At the Lake and At the River, and also a series of graded readers for adults, emergent readers. She was a longtime ESL instructor right here at Wake Tech, and she's been a teacher trainer both in Wake Tech's ESL certification program, and also for all of the North Carolina community colleges statewide. They had an ESL certification program where Shelley taught as well, and she specializes in teaching literacy. Shelley is now the department chair and an ESL teacher at Enloe High School in Raleigh. All right, without further ado.
Thanks. Okay, so can you hear me? Okay, so there's a microphone and we're all going to be on video today. I don't know if you guys knew that before you came, and wanted to have a recording so that people who couldn't be here could have the recording to look at later. So I've never done this with a microphone and all this stuff. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great, right? So we're going to be famous, I'm sure. So, okay. So I want to thank all these people for bringing this group together. Ann Techman just organized the whole facility and arranged everything for you today. Laura Klauke and Kim Wyatt, Tierney Sneeringer, and Kathy Baggett, thank you so much for bringing your teachers, bringing your volunteers with you today. It's really exciting to have all these groups from the community together here at Wake Tech, and I'm really happy to be here today as well. So Ann gave a great introduction. Sorry. Okay. So I was here at Wake Tech from 2008 to 2017. And during that time, I spent almost all that time teaching new arrivals. We called it the New Arrival School. Can everybody hear me? Yeah? Okay. We called it the New Arrival School, and these were classes that were held at St. Philip Lutheran and St. Andrew's Presbyterian 4 mornings a week for refugee students who had just arrived here in our area. And that's a picture from 2014, a celebration that we had. About 90% of our students did not speak an alphabet with a Roman, or speak a language with a Roman alphabet, excuse me. So they were unfamiliar with the Roman alphabet. The 10% that did know the Roman alphabet, they were Africans who spoke French. So we, from the very beginning, we realized that something like the Oxford Picture Dictionary, which we would normally use for level 1, that wasn't going to work because they didn't have print literacy in English, but maybe they also did not have print literacy in their first language. And so we were kind of at a different starting point with these students. They were very patient with us as we figured out what to do. We made a lot of mistakes. I'm not going to share the mistakes today. I will share the things that have been successful. But it was just a great time to discover how to provide adults in a respectful way, in a relevant way, provide foundational literacy for adults who are in this country and who needed it for life, but also who needed it to pass the citizenship exam. So for a lot of these students, the citizenship exam was the big hurdle that we were looking at. So the books that I wrote, At the River, was developed while I was teaching here, and then At the Lake, kind of toward the end of my time. And I'm just thrilled that I've been able to get those published, and people are using them. They sell. They keep selling. People keep buying them, and so they are useful for people across the country. So I'm really, really grateful for that. So as we go today, I just wanted to ask you to take a look at some of these scripts and just think for a minute about what it would be like if you were in the position of having to do your life, live your life in a different language, not the second one, French. We're probably comfortable with French, right? But any of the last 4, if you all of a sudden had to pay your bills and help your kids with school, go to the doctor, and do all those things with a language that is unfamiliar. So for many of the students that I taught when I was here at Wake Tech, and many people coming now, looking at one of those languages, that's what English looks like to them. Does anybody know what the third one is? That's Korean, right? The fourth? It's Hindi. Yeah. The fifth? It's Ukrainian, actually. It's Ukrainian, yeah. And the last one? It's Persian, yeah, Farsi, Persian. Dari is the same, right? So when I look, I don't know, when I look at those four, somehow the Hindi catches my eye, and I just think, how would I learn to write that? How would I learn to know, like, where does one character start or end and the next one start? I would need help decoding that. I hope it's a phonetic language. I would need help decoding that. So when we kind of put ourselves in the place of our students, it gives us a better feeling for why do we maybe need to start lower than we even thought we might need to. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk about some foundational principles, some basics of phonics. We don't have time to go really deep into that, but I want to provide you some resources for that. What I really want to do is provide some strategies that you can use. You could use them with the books that I've written, or you could use them with any other text that you're using. So we're going to do a listening and speaking strategy about family. We're going to do a reading strategy that does use one of my stories. And then somebody requested silent E, so I have some stuff. Who requested silent E? They're not here. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. We can still do it. So, and then time for questions at the end. So Anne has requested if there's a question, for the sake of the recording, she'll need to bring a microphone. So I think what I'll do is I'll pause at certain points for questions. So if you guys could just hold questions until I give the opportunity, I think that'll work well. So this is where we're headed for today. So these are some things that I learned as I taught low literacy adults, and things that I still think about now. I'm teaching high schoolers. Many of them speak Spanish, but some of the high schoolers that I teach have really a very rocky foundation in their first language. Not all, but some do. So the first idea is that oral language development helps students with reading and writing. And by the way, you will get the slides, and there's a lot of stuff linked here, so you'll get all this. So speaking is really important. Speaking first, listening and speaking first, print literacy second, is the best way to go with this group, and you'll see that today in what we do. Number two, modeling and scaffolding. So you need to model for your students what you want them to do. Scaffolding is where you provide the supports so that they can do it too. When I was trained a long time ago, my first ESL training, the way they told us about lesson plans was presentation, practice, production. And then sometimes we talk about the I do, we do, you do. And I know there's a million fancy lesson plans with really long names and all kinds of, things that we could look at. But to me, this really, for ESL, this really holds true. And I bolded the practice and the we do part because I think for some of us, it's easy to do the presentation. We present whatever it is that we want students to learn, and we say, okay, now you do it. But that we do part is really, really important. The practice part is really important. And your lesson for students at this level, your presentation might be short, like 5 or 10 minutes. The practice part might be almost the whole class, and the production part might also be really short. It might be 5 or 10 minutes at the end. So the strategies we do today are going to give you a lot to do in that practice part, in the we do part. Number 3, consistency and routines. Students at this level really benefit from those because they know what's coming next. They can relax, they can lower that affective filter. When they start to see, oh, we're going to do this activity again, or we're going to play this game again. You can play the same game with different topics, different sets of vocabulary, but they can relax because they know what you want. They don't have to sit there being nervous of what's she going to ask me to do today, and can I do it, right? Am I going to be able to understand what my teacher wants? Number 4, I think it's important to be a careful observer of your students. Look for things like, are they able to see well? Do they need to sit in the front? Are they able to hear well? Just try to slow down a little bit in your class and see what they need. And then it's important for you to reflect on your practice. If something didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, just take a few minutes. Try not to judge yourself, but just go, okay, where did that fall flat? And don't ditch an activity after the first time if it didn't work. Like if you really want to try it, do a couple times, do it 2 or 3 times after reflecting on it. And the workshop attitude, I think, is important because if you feel like you're a learner along with them, and I talked to Janice just a few minutes ago before the workshop. She's an experienced teacher of many, many years, and she said, I feel like I'm just still figuring this out. And this worked, this didn't work. Why? So go easy on yourself, whichever way. So, and then number 5, beginners do need systematic phonics instruction. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. A daily dose of that is better than once a week. So these are just some foundations, I think, that help with this group. So reading in English, wow. Take a minute and just read the information there. So English kind of has 2 parts to it when you think about foundational reading. We do have those sight words that don't really follow the rules of spelling or pronunciation. And if you've had kids in school and they bring home those lists that they're supposed to practice and they have a test on Friday, those are sight words that are out of context if it's just a little list like that. I tried that with my adults. It didn't really mean much. I've found that sight words are best taught in context of something that's more meaningful, and that exposure to those sight words in context of a meaningful topic is going to help them to learn those sight words. And then phonics and English, we do have sound symbol correspondence. English is 82% phonetic, which is kind of hard to believe sometimes, but it's complex. It is, and it's this idea of opaque and transparent. I got that from this really good book. It's called English L2 Reading by Barbara Birch. So a transparent language is an amazing, wonderful language, like Spanish, where a character or a letter has the same sound all the time. So if you learn those sounds, you can decode Spanish words. Korean is the same way. My husband is Korean American. I learned some Korean. If I practiced, I could decode Korean words. Apparently Greek is the same way. One symbol or one letter, one sound all the time. It's a great idea, right? It's really good. English is not that way. And particularly the vowels, we have short vowels, we have long vowel sounds, and then of course, the long vowel sounds, there's different combinations. There's different variations on those long vowel sounds. And some of our consonants combine, like S and H, they have their own sounds, but you put them together, it's a new sound. So there are some challenging concepts for people who are learning to read English for the first time, and maybe learning to read for the first time. I mean, you're teaching students who it could be they're learning to read for the first time, depending on their past. So yeah, students at this lower level, they need to know phonics to be able to work with English. And cracking the code, I think, is a good way to put it. Students that I've had, they really appreciate it because it's almost like we're telling them the secrets of the language. Like, here's how you do this part, and here's how you do that part. And they really do appreciate it. So any comments or any questions about this part. Yeah.
Are you including the phonemic awareness with the phonics?
Yes. Yes. And we're going to get to that. Yeah. She asked, am I including the phonemic awareness with the phonics? Yes. Yep. Yep. So this question comes up a lot. How much time should we spend on what? And this is my recommendation. From my time at Wake Tech, we had 3-hour classes. So opening routine, phonics and reading for 45 to 60 minutes, and then the rest of the time was spent on life skills ESL instruction. And then whenever possible, whatever phonics element we were working on, when it came up in the life skills part, we would try to highlight that. Like, let's say, okay, we're working on silent E in our phonics lesson, and then we're working on health in the life skills part. Let's notice the words that have silent E there. So this is just my recommendation. Some of you have you have longer classes, you have shorter classes. But like I said, I think phonics and reading daily versus just once a week is going to pay off. So you've been probably hearing in the news or reading in the news about the science of reading. North Carolina is doing a lot with science of reading. And science of reading for elementary school students is based on these 5 key components. The National Reading Panel, that's a very interesting topic, I think, but I'm kind of weird and kind of geeky about this. But if you want to look up the National Reading Panel and see who they were and where they came from, this was a really important study. And of course, they were looking at kids. They were looking at native-speaking American children. And they identified these 5 key components of reading. Since the year 2000, other researchers have done work with adults and have found these hold true for adults, these hold true for ESL students as well. So I put those other 2 alphabets there, again, just to kind of remind us. So comprehension is the goal of reading, understanding what you read either to enjoy it or to be able to apply it to something that you need to do. How can you understand? How can you demonstrate understanding if you can't decode what you're reading? So those first 3, phonemic awareness, phonics, and fluency, that's what helps you decode that language so that you can learn new vocabulary words and you can understand. And then hopefully one day you can even express what you understand in the language that you're learning. So for example, and I've got Hindi at the bottom there again, if we were going to learn Hindi, we would need someone to tell us, okay, here are the characters, here are the sounds. We would need to do handwriting, right? And we would need a lot of instruction in those first 3 areas to be able to get to comprehension in that language. So phonemic awareness and phonics, those are different. Would somebody like to explain what are the differences there? Yeah, thanks.
So phonemic awareness is the sound system. The phonics is the written and applying it.
Right. Yeah. So elementary school teachers do a lot with phonemic awareness. It's only working with sounds, like taking a word and breaking the word down into the sounds, not matching it to the text. But where you match the sounds to the text, that's what phonics is. So the next few slides, I can't go into details. I did include it here. I would love for you to take a look at this later. This is just an incredible graphic about the reading process. Also, I have included some information about teaching phonics, the mainly accepted sequence of teaching phonics, and then also what are the elements, short vowels, long vowels, etc. We could spend a whole training on just this. We're not going to do that today because I want to get into the strategies. And some of you know this already. Some of you have this experience already. So once you get the slides, if you feel like this is something you're not very familiar with, please go back and take a look. And then diagnostics. Someone asked for diagnostics. Is that person here? They're not here. Okay, that's okay. Hmm? Okay. Oh, you don't remember? That's okay. You don't remember what you asked. That's okay. So on my website, there's a couple diagnostics that you could access at a later time because people always say, okay, teaching reading, teaching phonics, that's fine. But how do I know where to start? And the first one is one that I created. The second one is really, really an amazing one. Check that one out. It goes all the way from just forming the letters up to the long vowel sounds. But either one of those could help you, and maybe work with your colleagues wherever you are to administer one of those, talk about the results, and figure out where you want to start with phonics. Oops. Okay, so the two books that I wrote, the At the River really focuses on the short vowels, the single consonants, and then the consonant digraphs like the SH, CH, and TH. Book 2 that we're really going to focus a little bit more on today is for students who are ready to move on from that very basic level. Take a minute and just read that slide, and then we're going to get into our first strategy. So how many of you would say the group you're teaching now is more the group on the left, like they need to learn how to write the letters? Okay. All right. And then how many of you would say the group you're teaching now is kind of more on the right? They know how to write the letters, but they've still got a ways to go. Okay. So the listening and speaking strategy that we do today is applicable for all of these students. Everybody can participate and everybody can feel successful with that strategy. The reading that we look at is going to come from At the Lake, so it's going to be a little bit on the higher side. I've included at the end of the slides a Google form. If you are interested or if you would like more training on the lower level, please let me know. And I've done that before with Kim and her people at Welcome House. We could work out something to kind of get some literacy on that very low level too. So, okay. So let's look at the handout. You should have a handout that says scaffolded listening and speaking. So I outlined it here. While we do it, if it helps you to follow along, do that. You may want to just do it with me. So I'm going to be the teacher. You guys are going to be the students. I feel like when you actually do it, then you're more likely to go and do it with your students versus if I just talk about it. Okay. So in just a minute or two, you're going to take on the role of student with this. But it is important to identify our goals. What do we want to get out of this? Would somebody read the primary goal for us? Anybody?
Students will be able to talk about a picture at the word, phrase level or at the sentence.
Thank you. And can somebody read the secondary goal?
Students will be able to read or recognize some printed words related to the picture, or will be able to write words or sentences related to the picture.
Thank you. So the rationale for this is that speaking skills help to grow the literacy skills. If a student can say a word, can repeat it after you, or can understand you when you say it, then they can start to connect that to print. For this level of students, it is not a good idea for them to come into class and you have a paragraph up at the front and they have a paragraph in front of them. They need visuals, they need speaking, they need listening, they need interaction before they can really handle that print well. So that's what we're going to do with this strategy. So would you all take a minute and read, well, might take you a couple minutes, read what the strategy looks like and then we're going to do it. So what you need for this activity is a high interest photo that you choose. I like the Oxford Picture Dictionary. When I was here at Wake Tech, I would usually use pictures from there. An 8 to 12 sentence description, which that's something that you write. You know your students, you know their level. You need to write those sentences yourself, and I'll give you an example today of what that might look like. And then to practice the routine. So we're going to practice the routine today. I put this picture here because what I like to do with this routine is to have students come up to the front, like leave your bag, leave your phone, leave your pencil. You don't need anything. Just come to the front, sit in chairs, sit close to the picture so that they're completely focused on the picture and what we're doing. And then I like to pair people up for this. I like to pair them high and low so that the person who just got to your class last week, they can say some words. They may not say complete sentences, but they can say some words. The person who's been with you for a while, they may be able to say complete sentences and also help the person that they're paired with. So, all right, are you guys ready? Okay, so we're gonna feel silly at certain points because I know that you're really good at English. And this is not hard for you. But just imagine you're in a class learning Persian. The teacher speaks all Persian, and you're going to talk about this picture, and the teacher is leading you in an activity where you're going to be able to talk about family. You're going to be able to use words about family, okay? So the end goal, if I could describe this picture in Persian or even say some words about this picture in Persian, I think I'd feel pretty good about that, right? All right, so students, today you will do a lot of speaking. Today you'll do a lot of speaking. But first, please look at the picture. Look at the picture, think about the picture. Take about 1 minute. Think about the picture. Think about words in English. Think about words in English in this picture. All right, students, please listen. Right now, do not repeat, just listen. So no speaking, just listen. This is a family. This is a family. She is a mom. She is a mom. He is a dad. Now, ideally, this wouldn't be so hard to point, like in the class, it would be closer to me, right? But, all right, they are married. They are married. They have a daughter. They have a daughter. They have a son. They have a son. They have 2 kids. 1, 2. They have 2 kids. She is a grandmother. She is a grandmother. He is a grandfather. He is a grandfather. They are married. They are married. They have a granddaughter. They have a grandson. They have a grandson. They have 2 grandkids. They have 2 grandkids. All right, students, let's look at the picture. And first, tell me the numbers. What's that number?
1,
okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, thank you. So this time I want you to listen and repeat. So listen and repeat. She is a mom.
She is a mom.
She is a mom.
She is a mom.
Okay. He is a dad.
He is a dad.
He is a dad.
He is a dad.
They are married.
They are married.
They are married.
They are married.
Mm-hmm. They have a daughter.
They have a daughter.
They have a daughter.
They have a daughter.
Mm-hmm. They have a son.
They have a son.
They have a son.
They have a son.
They have 2 kids.
They have 2 kids.
They have 2 kids.
They have 2 kids.
Mhm. She is a grandmother.
She is a grandmother.
She is a grandmother.
She is a grandmother.
Okay, is it okay with you guys if we kind of fast forward? You know what we're gonna do. Okay, so all right, so I'm having you repeat everything twice, okay? So we are now, if you're looking at the paper, we're at part 2, the student practice, the we do part. So there's an option after we do that echo reading, or sorry, that echoing. There's an option if you want to go ahead and have your students speak in pairs to see what they're getting so far, or if you want to just go ahead and keep moving with the practice, that's fine too. So let's skip ahead, and I call this what number? All right, so students, listen and tell me what number. So listen and tell me what number. She is a mom.
5.
Good. He is a dad.
2.
Okay. She is a grandmother.
4.
Okay. He is a grandfather.
3.
Okay. He is a son.
6.
Okay. She is a daughter.
1.
Okay. They have 2 kids. 2 and 5. Good, good. Okay. They have 2 grandkids.
3 and 4.
3 and 4. Okay, good. They are married. They are married.
2, 5.
Okay, now you guys are so fast with that. That's so good. Now, with your students, it's probably not going to be that fast, and you're going to stop, you're going to clarify. You may repeat the sentence, you may point again at the picture, repeat the sentence that you gave. That's fine. Take as much time as you need, right, with your students. Okay, students, this is the yes/no game. So students, this time, listen, tell me yes or no. Tell me yes or no. He is a daughter.
No.
He is a grandfather.
No.
He is a son.
Yes.
Okay. She is a mom.
Yes.
Okay. She is a grandfather.
No.
She is a grandmother.
Yes.
Okay. He is a grandmother.
No.
He is a daughter.
No.
He is a grandfather.
Yes.
Okay. He is a dad.
Yes.
Okay. She is a mother.
No.
Or sorry, mom. She is a daughter.
Yes.
Okay, great. So these are just different ways of them processing the information, hearing it again, gamifying it just a little bit. All right, students, tell me. So we're at the very bottom here. This time, I want you to tell me. I'm not talking. You tell me. So I will point to a number. I want you to tell me about it.
She is a daughter.
Okay, great. Number 2.
He is a dad.
Okay. Number 3.
He is a grandfather.
Okay. Something else? Can you tell me more? Okay, great. She said 2 grandchildren. Wow, that's great. Okay. Number 4? I know. She's a grandmother. Okay. Can you tell me more? Okay, great. Okay. She's married. Okay, great. He's a son. Okay, very good. Okay. So I'm having you respond in a group. So it's low stakes for the students. Okay. You might have a student who's really confident and really responding, and then somebody next to them who's not saying much. At this point, that's okay, right? This is all practice. Okay. So now we're on the back. So this is the production part. So the production part, or the you do part. So I'm going to ask my students to practice with a partner. As they do that, I'm going to go around and listen, see how it's going. Like I said, I like to pair high and low together. So the higher student might be saying the sentences. The higher student might be adding information to it. That's great. The lower student might just be saying, what do you think your newest student might just be saying? Mom, or she, mom, or something like that, right? Okay, so if your lowest students are just saying some words, that's great. That's fine. If you have time, mix up the partners. They can practice again with a different partner. Do that maybe one more time, up to 2 more times. And while the students are doing that, you're walking around listening which words are hard to say. So in your experience, which of these family words are hard to say? Daughter, grandmother, grandfather, right? Probably grandkids, right? Right. So those are words that you might want to go over some more, again, pointing to the picture. Now, this whole time, I'm not putting anything on the board. And I would recommend the same for you. Okay. Have this be speaking, listening, pronunciation. Okay, so we've done some pair work. Finally, I'm going to point to the numbers again, ask for an individual or maybe 2 or 3 people for each number who might want to talk about that person. And then the most exciting is to invite a student to say, hey, okay, I'm here. I want you to talk about the picture. Who wants to come and talk about the picture? And that is so cool because your highest people who always do it, they'll probably come. But my experience has been sometimes a person I never would have expected, they come. And it's the coolest thing because they've developed some confidence, to come up and show what they know. Now, if they come up and they do not say the script perfectly, is that a problem? No. We are not correcting grammar right now. This is a time for them to feel comfortable and to express what they know. And we're going to applaud whatever effort is made when people come up. Okay. Grammar is not the point for this. Okay. So that takes us to the end of the production part. So when you do it, if you choose to stop at that point and it's just a speaking and listening activity, that's fine. If you choose to carry it on to print, I have some suggestions for that. Did you have a chance to read that part before? Yeah.
When you're speaking, do you correct the format to be using?
So the question was when they're speaking, do I correct them? So I would, at this point, I would not correct grammar. I probably would correct he and she because that's easy to do in the class. He, we can point to people and we can say he or she. I would probably correct their pronunciation on the target words. And one of the blue papers that you guys have has the target words. So if they're trying to say grandmother and it's really hard to tell what they're saying, yeah. But I wouldn't worry about to be, and I also wouldn't worry about they have a granddaughter, did they get all 4 words? Or did they say they correctly? I probably wouldn't worry about that. So.
They say the wrong vocabulary word, mother.
Right. Yes. Right. Yeah. And I think it's good for whatever you're doing. If you're doing this activity or anything else you're doing, think about, what are you teaching? What do you want them to get out of it? And correct for that point. So if you are teaching to be, if that's the point, then you would correct for that. Yeah, but that's not what we're doing with this lesson today. So another question? Okay, so let's talk about if you wanted to shift to print, some things that you could do. And I wanted to just put out for your consideration the 2 blue papers. And there's not one for each person. There's one for every 2 people, just because this is kind of just something to look at. So if you want to give the script to the students, let's look at the English one first. So the first one is not quite single spaced. It might be that 1.15. The second one is double spaced. And then the third one, I broke out each sentence. For the group that you have now, which one do you think would be the easiest? Second, maybe? Okay, cool. Okay, does anybody feel like the third would be for their group? Okay, great. Let's look at the paper with the Persian on it. Let's see. Okay, so this is just the same thing that I ran through Google Translate, and I have a student who speaks Persian, and I understand that Persian doesn't always come out perfectly. Does anybody speak Persian? Or read it? Okay, so to us it's fine. Really? Little bit. Okay. So again, I'm the student. We are the students trying to learn Persian. Look at that first one. This is like a 12-point font. That's kind of small. This is almost single-spaced. I don't feel very good about that. I feel like this is hard, okay? Number 2, the spacing is better. I feel better about that. But look at the last one, and let's just talk for a minute. What are some benefits? What are some benefits for us as Persian or Farsi learners of number 3? You can, yes. You can see the repetition. Good. What else?
It isolates the thought.
Great. It isolates the thought. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
It helps me understand there's different meanings.
Okay.
Spacing helps a lot.
Okay. So she said the spacing helps a lot when it's chunked. Different meanings when it's chunked. Okay.
To add notes on pronunciation and meaning.
Sorry?
To add notes on pronunciation and meaning of the words,
Mm-hmm.
of the new words.
Yes. So it's going to help us. When I look at this Persian, I can just start visually. I can start to go, okay, so that looks the same as, okay, those 3 look the same. These look different. It just helps me to start to perhaps assign sounds to those words, right? So the reason that I wanted to share this with you is just think about the text that you're giving your students. Is the font size really small? Is there enough space on the page? I mean, I know we're all trying to save paper these days, of course, but like just the space on the page helps the student kind of breathe and go, okay, one at a time. I can do this one. I'll do this one, like that. So just think about what you're giving your students. So back to the handout with the suggestions for connecting to print. Now that you've done all the work, all of the listening and speaking work, they're familiar with that picture that we just talked about. They're feeling confident about some words in that picture. So someone asked ahead of time about different groups. How do you break down different groups? So for the lowest group, I would work with them pretty intensively. So I would have them seated together. I would get the medium and the high groups started. The medium group is going to do this close exercise. I would give that to them on paper. I would not give it to them this small. I would make a bigger font size for that. Provide the word bank for them and have them work together to fill in the words. Now for that medium group, if the sentence makes sense, that's fine. They don't have to put it in the exact order. In other words, they don't have to have memorized what I said. Okay, if it makes sense, that's fine. And of course, you want them to use all the words. So once the medium group does that, they can read to each other. They can read that to each other. The high group, I'm going to give them maybe like a little whiteboard and some markers and be like, okay, write some sentences. What can you do? Or they could do that on paper. That's fine. And they can talk to each other, see how many sentences they could write, about that picture. So they're busy. In the meantime, I go back to the low group. I'm going to give them the text. I'm going to give them the script in a nice big font, probably for the groups I used to teach. It would be this way. And they're going to echo read with me. I'm going to have them circle keywords in the text, like the family vocabulary words. I'm going to have them repeat those words back to me. I'm going to put them in pairs, see if they can read together. If that doesn't go very well, we'll do another echo reading. So I'm working pretty closely with the low group while the others have something else they can do. Now, at the end of all that, your medium and your high groups, they've been using these words and putting them into sentences. You can invite them to the front. They could read it for the class. So again, think about what if after an hour and a half of a class, you could stand up and read something in Persian about this. Amazing. That would be so cool, right? So to us, this is so easy. This just looks like so easy, you know. But if it's appropriate for the level, then it's what they need. So I would like to move on to have you guys practice a little bit. So here's what we're going to do. Oops. Okay. So you have that Oxford Picture Dictionary there. Let's take about 7 or 8 minutes, look through that book, find a picture that relates to something that you're teaching, and just start to think about a script that you could write. If you have time to write the script, that's great. Go ahead and write it. And I will ask if you want to share it. No pressure because we're on video. But yeah, let's take about 7 or 8 minutes. Just start to think about how you might apply this. Okay, so let's come back together. It looked like some people found some really good pictures. I saw a grocery store picture. There's a couple people who found the clothing picture with the people wearing different clothing. And is there anybody who actually wrote a script who would like to share their script?
We talked about the fruits and vegetables, and we wanted to make it real simple. He shops for, she shops for, they shop for, using the word shop. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. All right. Anybody else who would like to say something about what they did? Thank you.
I was looking at the fast food picture and using the present continuous to say she is ordering, he is eating a hot dog, she is drinking, those sorts of things for the picture. Didn't write anything down, but that's what I was thinking.
Right.
Looking at the picture.
Right. Yeah, and this is a great activity to do with verb tenses like that. But just keep it consistent if you're going to do that. So everything in present continuous, or everything in simple present, or if you want to do past, or yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm.
So if you're working on, so when you're doing a lesson like that, do you want to focus just on like the direct object or the verbs? Like, do you want to have different verbs using the same objects, or how it just depends on your group? Because here you have the present continuous, and then you have a different.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it depends on what you want to do.
Okay.
What do you want to emphasize? Do you want to emphasize the nouns? Do you want to emphasize the types of people? Is it adjectives that you want to emphasize? Is it a certain verb tense? So then you can decide what you want and kind of have your script focus on that point. Yeah. So if you don't have the Oxford Picture Dictionary at your site, we can use Google Images. I'm really trying hard to not use the images that are copyrighted and figure out which ones are free and all that. So we want to be respectful of copyright, but you can find a lot of things on Google Images that work really well too. So this lesson that we did together, it preps the students to go right into Unit 1 of At the Lake. So if you're not using At the Lake and you've been thinking about it, or you would like to try it, it preps them to go right into that. And so what I did in the slides, and you'll get all this when you receive the slides, is I included, and this is something that I used actually with my high schoolers this year. So I've been using At the Lake with them. But when you look at the stories, you'll see the key vocabulary, the family vocabulary is in those stories. And if you would like to go ahead and try this first unit, you'll be getting these slides, and the slides are open for you to use. You will benefit from adding flashcards to the stories. So I would use flashcards for the sounds of the keywords, like the first sound of the keywords. And then you're also going to need to use flashcards for the short vowels too, because the first unit focuses on those short vowels. So incorporate that into the routine as well. So what we did with listening and speaking is going to just introduce them to that first story, and then also to the second story, which is about grandparents. And I like to include as many pictures as possible. Hey, tell me about this picture. Tell me about this one. Tell me about, just variety and many, many chances to use that language, to speak and listen and use that language before they connect to the print. So we're going to move on and skip to the third unit, a story in the third unit. But is there any question or anything that you'd like to offer before we do that? Billy? Yeah? Okay, great.
One of the things we were discussing as we looked at the Oxford Picture Dictionary was, let's say on the page where there's a grocery store, there's like 55 words. So what's a quantity of words that's safe for us to think about presenting to students at this level? Okay, and that Kathy and Roxanne were talking about the same thing. So, so the picture, if you could use the picture, crop out all those 55 words. Because if you put the 55 words, your students are going to want to learn those. Right. And they're going to trust you as the teacher, teach me those 55 words. Right. But they don't really need all of those right now. I think Roxanne and Kathy identified bag, cashier, aisle, cart, right. So maybe, if you could take a picture of that, of the visual, use that and make your own list, and then whatever numbers are on the picture, I don't know if you can just, if you have if you're projecting on a whiteboard, just mark those numbers out and make your own numbers, so. Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend about, I was thinking like 5 to 7, recommend 5 to 7 words at a time. Would that be realistic?
I think it really depends on your group. I think what I did was sort of 8 to 12 words. I think 8 to 12 is a good ballpark. But if you really feel like for your group, 5 to 7 is better, do it. If you do the 5 to 7 on Monday and that, man, that just went great. Okay, we're going to do it again on Tuesday and we're going to add 3 or 4 more, So. Yep. Okay. Oh, yeah.
At TESOL, they featured a grant-based program called Pathway to Literacy, no S, Pathway to Literacy, and it has a photo bank that is organized topically. Okay. And so just Google Pathway to Literacy, and you will hit the jackpot on pictures. Wow.
When you go on Google, you can also say free pictures of such and such, and you will get free pictures.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So let's move on to our next strategy. All right. So this one is called scaffolded reading. You should have the handout. Does everybody have the handout? Scaffolded reading.
So some of you are using At the River. Remember that this story is just a little notch up from there. The story that we're going to look at features the short I sound, but also 2 of the long sound spellings, the I with the silent E and the IGH. So this is definitely for students who have handwriting already, who know the consonant sounds, but they need to work with those vowel sounds. So this is not your newest arrival. This is not your very lowest student. So would somebody read the goal for us?
Students will be able to read a short inner text independently using decoding skills and sight word recognition.
Thank you. So this strategy does focus on those first 3 components. After they are very, very comfortable with those first 3 components as it relates to the story, then they can move on to work with vocabulary, understand the story, and hopefully express what they understand. And the rationale is that to build those first 3 skills, students need multiple opportunities to work with the text, not just reading it once, not just hearing it from the teacher once, but they need multiple opportunities to hear it, to say it out loud. So this strategy offers them many opportunities. Some of them are kind of gamified. They're kind of fun. So I hope y'all are ready to have fun. Yeah. So they're kind of fun, even for high schoolers. I mean, I'm always a little nervous with my high schoolers. Okay, how's this going to go? But this works. This works. They like it. And it helps to expose the students to the text multiple times, which is what they need. So would you take a moment and just read what the strategy is? So before doing this strategy, we're going to do all of our work with visuals. I would have already done the scaffolded listening and speaking. This is a good picture from the Oxford Picture Dictionary for this story. Talk about different jobs in the restaurant. Somewhere in the slides there, I have a script that I wrote for that picture. For my high schoolers, I also prepared a few more pictures. So I prepare for them. I prepare maybe 7 or 8 slides with pictures of what the story is about, and I include a sentence or I include a phrase from the story. I will read it out loud to them, have them echo read it. After we've done the echo reading a couple of times, I'll click through the slides and I'll call on kids to read the sentence. Now with your adults, I don't know if you want to call on them. With the high schoolers, I have to call on them to keep them on their toes. But this is here. You can use this and use it however you like. So these are some visuals for the story. That's a lot. Yeah. But so pile, there's a lot of different piles, right? So. And I chose the word pile for the story because I needed silent E words, but pile is a useful word too. So, okay. So with this story, you can end up talking about jobs, you can talk about work schedules, etc. So after the visuals, we're ready to jump in to the text. So look at the teacher presentation. So the I do part. Number 1 is realia and pictures. If you want to bring in realia, bring it. Bring the dishes, bring the silverware, bring all that. Number 2, teacher reads the text out loud 2 times. Students listen without looking at the text. An option is that students close their eyes. We're not going to do that part today, but what do you think if you read a text like this one out loud to your students and asked them to close their eyes while you read it, and they haven't looked at the text? what do you think might be happening for them?
More concentration, less distracted.
Okay, less distractions. Good, good. What do you think they might be thinking?
Making their own snack.
Okay, possibly making their own picture in their mind.
Time for a snack.
Time for a snack. Okay, okay, yeah. So I imagine they would be listening and they would catch like, okay, works. I think I know that word, works. Midnight. What's midnight? I don't. They would be trying to catch words that they know. Okay, so we are not going to do that part. However, number 3, I do want to do this. I want you to do this. So I'll be the teacher. You'll be the students. All right, students, so we are looking at Jim's Job. The title of the story is Jim's Job. Listen, and with your pencil, I want you to follow the words. So listen, this is page 44 if you have the book. And I think there's some handouts. Does everybody have access to it? It's at the Lake, page 44, but we do have some handouts if people, okay, great. Okay, thanks. So I want you to listen, and I want you to take your pencil, and I want you to follow the words while you listen. Jim has a job. Jim works at Kate's Diner. Jim is a dishwasher at Kate's Diner. He likes Kate's Diner. Jim drives his car to work. He works in the kitchen. The kitchen has big piles of dishes. Okay, so a lot of you are following. That's good. So if you do this while you're reading, try to notice your students. What does it tell you if they are actually following accurately with you? They're recognizing the word. They're making the connection. Okay. What does it tell you if somebody's kind of going? What does it tell you? Maybe they're going too fast. They're not connecting very well. Right. Okay. Now, what does it tell you if somebody they get here and then they just kind of go? Sleeping or just giving up. Like I don't even know where she is, right? So, and this is a very low, low stakes way for you to see what's going on. You're not asking the students to display this in any way to their classmates, but you can just kind of see and make a mental note. Oh, wow, okay, she's really tracking with this. That's great. Oh, this student, okay, he doesn't really know where we are. That gives you some information, okay? So I recommend that you demonstrate for them that tracking and have them do it. Yep.
Do you ever use the projector to help point?
Yes.
See?
Yes. Yeah, the question was, do you use the projector to help point? I definitely, yeah. Yep. Okay, so let's move to number 4, the echo reading. So students, please listen and repeat. Listen and repeat. Jim has a job. Jim works at Kate's Diner. Jim is a dishwasher. At Kate's Diner. Okay, let's do the whole sentence. Jim is a dishwasher at Kate's Diner. He likes Kate's Diner. Jim drives his car. To work. Jim drives his car to work. He works in the kitchen. The kitchen has big piles of dishes. The kitchen has big piles of dishes. Okay, I don't think we need to do the whole thing. Are you guys okay with that? Okay, so with the longer sentences, chunking it, and then bringing the whole thing together is useful. And I think Liz's suggestion, of having the text and pointing to the text while we do that would also be really good. Okay, number 5, choral reading. So choral reading is where I'm leading the students and they're reading with me. So I would be pointing to the words, I'm saying the words, they're reading with me. This can go really well if people stay with your pace. This can go really poorly if you have, right, if you have somebody who races ahead. And so just try it with your group. And, if the person who races ahead, they just can't help it and they can't do anything about it, just don't do the choral reading. If it's just, because then it's just a mishmash and it's not helpful for anybody. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's go on to the we do part. So this is the practice. All right, so students, look at the text. Look at the sentences. I will start the sentence, you finish. So I will start the sentence, you finish the sentence. Jim has a job. Jim works at Kate's Diner. Okay. Jim is a dishwasher at Kate's Diner. He likes Kate's Diner. Okay. Jim drives his car to work. Okay. So we don't have to finish the whole thing, but if students are responding correctly, again, what does that tell you? They're tracking, right? They're tracking. Okay. Now, do you think you might have somebody, like, let's say she's really good and her partner's just kind of echoing what she's saying? Do you think that might happen? Yes. And that's okay. It's still participation, right? So one thing to do with that is just make sure that you vary where you stop. Don't always stop in the middle, so that it's predictable. Stop in different places. Okay. All right. Let's do number 7. Some of you have the paper with the numbers on it. If it's your book and you want to write the numbers in the book, there are 13 sentences. So if you do this one with your students, they would need to have a copy with numbers, or they would need to write the numbers in their book. So, all right, so listen, this time listen, and tell me, because so actually first we need to make sure that they know the numbers. Okay, so everybody tell me the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I can tell you guys got it. Yeah, I feel really good. Okay, all right, so but with your students, review the numbers first. Why? They might not know it, or they might, if you haven't refreshed the numbers, they might know the answer, but they can't remember how to say the number in English, right? They're DS or whatever. They might be trying to answer in their own language. Okay, so listen, I'll give you a sentence, and I want you to tell me the number. He works 5 nights a week. He works 5 nights a week. Number 9, good. Okay. He drives home in the car. 13, great. Okay. He likes Kate's Diner. He likes Kate's Diner. Number 4, good. He works in the kitchen. He works in the kitchen. That's number 6, good. Okay. Jim has a job. All right. Jim is a dishwasher at Kate's Diner. Jim works at night. Jim works at night. Okay, number 8. Good. Okay, so with this activity, you're just going to continue. You're going to call out all the sentences. They're going to give you the number. If I have a student who they're always blurting out the number first, after they do that a few times, I might just say, "Hey, great job, thanks. You're doing great, so I need you to not answer, so we give other people a chance, right?" But that's a really fun one. Okay, let's look at number 8. So number 8, students, listen. I'll give you a sound. I want you to say a word that starts with that sound. So look at the story and give me a word, for example, that starts with D. Diner. What else? Dishes, dishwasher. Okay, great. Drives. Thank you. Good. Midnight. Good. Okay. Works. Washer. Week. Okay, very good. Thank you. Sometimes. Good. Good. Okay. How about okay. Car. Kitchen. Okay. Good. Good. Now,
They would have a difficult time with car.
Mhm.
You know, but, I mean, just out front, they might be able to say K for Kate,
okay.
but I think the more advanced students will get car because they
Okay.
will get a C,
Okay.
the
So,
letter C.
so what she said is the more advanced students might get car because that's a letter C. They might be thinking K with K. So what I would do with this, if it was kind of a group that skews a little lower, have the flashcards, use the flashcards as I do that. A group that skews a little higher, maybe they don't need the flashcards. So, all right, so that's the what sound. So what you're seeing in this whole we do part is just many opportunities for the student to just focus on this text, right? Focus on the words, get really comfortable with that text. Let's look at number 9. So number 9, they're going to read with a partner. I circulate, listen to a few sentences from each student. Number 10, address any problem areas that they had. A really good and easy strategy is like if everybody's struggling with the pronunciation of dishwasher, you can call out that word, have them circle it, have them repeat it. So, after you circulate and you get your short list of words they're struggling with, you might want to call those out and then have them read those back to you just for another focus on those words. So at the very end, the whole group, number 11 is an option, round robin reading. I prefer groups of 3 or 4 because they can ask each other for help if they need it. I've done the round robin. Do you know what it is? Yeah, it's like number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So the problem with it, if I have the whole group do it, is what if Elizabeth is not a strong reader and number 4 happens to be a really long sentence, and it's here we go, number 1, number 2, and I'm going, oh no, okay, here we go. Like there's no way around it. Like I'm not gonna, give her a free pass in front of the whole group. That's not good, but she's going to struggle. That's uncomfortable for everybody. So that's why it is life. but I don't want to, if I don't have to put my students in a position where they feel less than, in front of the others, it's best. So that's why I like round robin in a smaller group where they're doing that together. Do you guys have opinions about that or experiences? Yeah.
I find that it's a beautiful thing to see how they help each other.
Yes.
If you have an established community within your group, it's a safe space and all working together.
Yes. Yes. That's great. Here comes
I think it's really great to see how they help each other out when they have trouble pronouncing something. And then
Right.
I try to build community so that happens naturally. It's not so forced.
Right. That's great. Yep. Good. Good. Okay, and a final step, step number 12, if you have time, I used to do this with my At the River groups a lot, is I would make a big deal about, okay, I'm not looking at the text, I'm not looking at the story, you read for me, and then I'm at the whiteboard and they dictate to me and I write on the board. So somebody reads the words in the first sentence, the second. So then they're reading the story to me. I put the story on the board, and then everybody comes to the board. This is a step if your group needs it. Come to the board. Everybody gets a marker. I call out words, and people circle words on the board. We read it again. So if you did all these steps, your students would be working with that text probably 10 different ways. So what I would like to recommend is that you try this and try all the steps. As you try it, you may, with your group, you might be like, they don't really need this one. I'm not going to use that one next time. I promise you this is a routine that if you incorporate, it'll become easy for you. It will cut your planning time because these will be steps that you just follow. And like for your students, like when you go up to the board and you write the numbers, they're like, oh, I know what's coming next. And they feel great because they know what to do. So I do recommend trying each step, see how it goes. If you really learn this, it saves you a lot of time in the future. Okay, so let's look at the back, the production. So it's really important for you to listen to each student. So they have the text in front of them. They're practicing with a partner. I want to sit across the table from each student and listen to each student read it. So what are the other people doing while you are reading or while you're listening to people read? So they can practice with their partner. Another activity they could do, and this requires advanced prep on your part, is you can write the sentences on these sentence strips and then cut them up. So Jim has a job. So you're going to write on the sentence strips and cut these up, mix the whole thing up, and then the students are working to put the story together. You could give them the whole story. That's a lot. You could give them all the words and they could have to sort that out. Or you could divide that story up into 3 or 4 different groups, and they could rotate around to tables. They could put this one in order. Okay, now mix that up. Now go put that one in order. So it's something for them to do while you're reading with each student. Now, what if you have a student who is really kind of low for the level and they're still struggling with this text? I might have that student just read after me. That's fine. We're going to do an echo reading again, okay? Or I might circle words in the text, keywords. Hey, read these words for me, okay? And that's, if I'm doing that with that student, nobody else has to know that I'm modifying for that person, right? So what I would like to do right now is have you guys practice some of these steps. So go back to the we do part, the practice part, and with somebody at your table, I want you to practice the number 6, number 7, and number 8. So one of you is the teacher, one of you is a student, and then switch, okay? Because I think if you practice today doing it, you're more likely to do it with your students, okay? So let's take, what do you think, 6 or 7 minutes for both of you to practice? Okay, because I'd like for each person to take the role of the teacher. Okay, so let's try 6 or 7 minutes for that. Let's come back together. So I had 2 really good questions. And we do have time for questions, so this is great. We've got about 14 more minutes. So I had 2 really good questions, and there may be more. Luba asked about the sound routine, and she said, I don't think my students would know the sound. So something that's part of the warm-up that I would do every day with my students, not with my high school students so much, but with my adults absolutely every day, is we would do the flashcard warm-up together. So in this set of flashcards, I like because they're so big, we would do, what's this, dog? And then at the beginning of the quarter, we would do the name of the letter and the sound, but then I would eventually drop the name because the sound is what they need to learn to read. They do need to know the names for spelling. But so our routine every day would be, okay, what's this? Dog. What's the sound?
It's going to count on the fact that they know the word dog.
Well, I would teach it. I would model it and teach it. Right, exactly. So this would be a routine that we would just do absolutely every day. Okay, so what's this? Gum, and the sound? G. Okay, great. And I would go through as I taught the letters, and this was with At the River. If I had taught the letter, we add it to the stack. So at the beginning of the quarter, the stack is short, or is small, but at the end of the quarter, we've got all the single consonants, we've got all the short vowels, we've got the SH, CH. Yeah, so that would be something that when we get to this, when we get to this, it would be a very normal thing for them to respond. And for a lower group, I might bring the flashcard in, to this part of the activity. So I really strongly do recommend flashcards. I like this set. It's from Phonics Q, and this was given to me. This whole set is like $120, I think. But somebody from Lutheran Family Services a long time ago in 2009 gave it to me. I have a resource list in my slides, and you'll see the link for this. So this whole set is about $120, but they also sell she calls them playing cards, and this is like $20. So the playing cards are great. And the really neat thing about this is like they do everything. They do like all the vowel combinations, it like things that you might have not have thought of in a while. You're like, they just have all the sounds that you need. So this is called Phonics Q. Yeah, Phonics Q.
Part of that system.
Yeah, these little playing cards are just the mini versions of the bigger cards, which are more expensive. And I met the lady who made this. I met her at TESOL one year. She was an elementary school teacher teaching reading, and her friend, who was an art teacher, did the drawings. That's kind of cool, And she was speaking at TESOL, and it was kind of like her retirement thing, to present. And I mean, she makes some money off this product, and it's really good. Now, if you want a cheaper option, these are from Target, and this is a company called Trend. And this is also on the resource list that's in the slides. And when you look at these, it's like photographs. So they're meant for children, of course. But I mean, I think that's appropriate for adults. Key, there's a keyword for each card. So, and this is about $5. Yep.
I don't know if this is a silly question or not, but on those bigger cards, you have the lowercase letter first and then the capital letter.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that on those flashcards?
I think the reason is that students use this more, they see it more, maybe they write it more. But yeah, that looks super weird, right? Yeah.
As elementary students, we had on,
True.
the wall had the
True.
alphabet line.
Yeah. So that's a little odd. But for my students, I really did like I liked how big it was, for them, and I use that all the time. So the other question that I had, Elizabeth had a question about warm up. That like you got the presentation, practice, production, but it's important to have a warm up. But she said sometimes her warm ups go too long, and then it kind of cuts into what she had planned for her lesson. So I think it is important to have a warm up. I would do every class. I would do name cards. Take out the name cards. Okay, Angela, where's Angela? Is she here? Oh, great, Angela's here. And distribute the name cards. And that way, if somebody's sick, we get out the name card. This is Anne. This is Anne's. Have the kids, or not the kids, sorry. The students read the name. And, oh, Anne's not here. Where's Anne? And then they need to kind of tell me something. Oh, Anne sick. Anne son sick. Something. So name card routine and then a flashcard routine that was my warm up. But I know some people like to do weather. What's the weather today? Or, today is Monday. Yesterday was Sunday. Tomorrow is Tuesday.
Who am I?
So-
Swatted. Who am I with the sticky?
Oh,
Universe.
okay.
Who am I with the sticky? And
Okay.
you put a person on there, and it's like 20 questions you get to ask. Am I a woman? Am I alive? Am I the president?
Okay.
20.
Okay.
You get 20 questions.
Okay.
Am I a singer?
We do compliments.
Okay. Oh, that's a good idea. So she said we do
Give one
compliments.
compliment and you receive one compliment.
That's nice. That's so nice. I love that. So we do have we have about 7 more minutes. I want to show y'all a couple more things that are in the slides that you're going to get. I'm sharing my slides with you for the story for Jim's job. So again, if you want to try this story, you've got the materials there. Silent E is part of this unit. I didn't know how to teach Silent E before either. And one of my volunteers here at Wake Tech that Ann helped me get, Grace Ann Jericho, she told me how to teach Silent E. So with Silent E, what you want to do, is, there we go, is have a list of words, and these are in the book. The short vowel words with the short vowel sound, and then with the silent E on the other side. Model for the students how these sound, have them echo after you, all the short vowel ones, have them echo all the long vowel ones, then have them echo Tim, time, din, dine. Practice like that. And then something that I think is really helpful is tiles. So a dictation with, and these are just index cards. This is nothing fancy. But so for example, using the words that you just saw on the previous slide. Okay, the first word is going to be time. So you've got your letters in front of you. You've got your 4 boxes. So please assemble the word time. Okay, and then Tim. So for Tim, I want to see them take away that E, right? And I do want to see them put the capital letter. I really do, yeah, because it's a name. So this really shows you, as you watch them do it, it shows you if they understand what the concept is or not. Now, it takes some time to make these if you have your students make them. I don't know if you would want to make them ahead of time yourself, but it's fine to have the students make them. Let's see. A different approach, and I'll share this real quick. So this is something that I made for my high school students. It could be useful for you. Feel free to use it if it is. So most of my students speak Spanish, and some have a great educational background. Some of them have an interrupted background. But I can put a slide like this up with Spanish-speaking high school students. That's a lot of words, right? But there are a lot of cognates for them. I would not have used this with my adults. No, that's too many words. I would just use the flashcard with them. But something else that you can think about, I did provide all this verbiage for my high school students. Again, because they read in Spanish to some extent. There are cognates here. I would talk them through these rules, but I would never have done this with the adults that I taught here because this type of presentation is not useful for them. Right?
How do you say that?
If I were to put these rules up like this for students, and then this is just my experience and how I think about it. Like if they're at this level, right? This is so teachery, right? It's very with the adults I would rather demonstrate, like with the tiles, demonstrate how it works. Don't expect them to digest all of that. Yeah. But with a higher ESL level, yeah, you might put that up there, right? Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I was just thinking about phonological awareness too. If we used pictures also, just to kind of help students hear the difference between the short vowel and the long vowel.
Yep.
And then we can introduce the phonics and maybe that silent E rule, but that might help to start to make connections. I was just thinking that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. So this is one of the last slides. The resource list at the top there, there's so many good things. And over the years, people have developed great resources to use with students at this level. So please check those out. The teacher's guide for At the River and At the Lake, those are on my publisher's website. You can access it there. but I just put it here. And then finally, there was a presentation a couple years ago when I was here, and I just included that if you want to access that. And I know Ann Techman has a form for you. I would love it when you get the slides. I would really love it if you would fill that out for me. It's just a few questions, but I would really appreciate it. And you've got my email. If I would love it if you would contact me. That would be great. I'd love to know how this is working for you, how you're changing it, how you're using it, how your students are responding. So above all, I hope that you got some practical things today that you feel like you can go and you can try and you can use. So that's what I hope that you got out of this today. Thanks so much. Yeah.